This is probably the only time I'm going to say this, but a nice cover letter. This is where the cover letter is pretty important. Hey, lovely people, it's me, Jessica Hicks, and I am a corporate recruiter. Now, some of you may already know, but over the past year, I have been working at a large online media firm. And so in this video, I want to share just some of the feedback that I've received from hiring managers. And I want to highlight one particular job, and it's going to be your staff writers and your general writers, right? And so let's get into some of the things I've heard from hiring managers on why they chose certain candidates and why they did not choose other candidates. Now, let's get into the first thing. The first thing that a hiring manager is going to look for in a writer is looking at your writing samples along with your resume. Now, this is a case where I don't think, one is necessarily above the other, but they're definitely going to look for if you've provided a resume, writing samples, and this is probably the only time I'm going to say this, but a nice cover letter. This is where the cover letter is pretty important. Your resume, your cover letter, and your writing samples that you share are all going to be looked at because the hiring manager is trying to get a very good glimpse into your writing style, how you communicate overall. So all of these pieces need to be included in your application. So you're going to spend a lot more time on your application likely when you're applying for a writer job. Now, let's get into the writing samples, because something that I've heard from hiring managers is that they need to see a variety of work. And if you're applying to an online media firm, you're applying to a specific brand within that media firm, right? So you need to be able to understand the type of content that they're pushing out and provide a variety of work samples that you think would work with their style, right? Are you going to be telling stories? Is the goal of your writing going to be to engage with an audience and get high traffic, loop into trending stories? Is it news content? Is it going to be, the news viral trending stories? Is it going to be catered to selling a product? All of that goes into the type of writing samples that you're going to provide. So keep that in mind. So that's number one. Of course, number two is going to be some solid writing experience, right? And the type of writing you'll highlight in your writing samples, of course, but generally, if you're a freelancer, if you're working full-time, it doesn't matter so much in terms of the type of work you do, as long as you are showing that you have some good variety. For example, someone that had a technical only background, so all they're doing is technical writing, or someone that's only doing academic research, right? Or someone that's solely their writing experience is that they wrote a book, may have some trouble really getting into this industry because they don't have, or they're not able to showcase a variety of work, and their stories and their writing may just be in a different style and tone than what the hiring team is looking for their brand. So you do have to understand that and be able to showcase, if you do have more of the academic background or more of the technical writing background, you need to figure out ways that you can get some additional experience with writing, maybe focused around storytelling or something that's trending, or identifying a need and providing some insight to a specific audience in a different way outside of the box that you've been in. So that's going to be another piece. The third thing is to know the brand. Know the brand. Don't just know about the media firm. You have to understand that media firms will have many brands within their umbrella, right? Or under their umbrella. You have to understand that specific brand. So do some research into the brand. Of course, that's going to help you figure out what writing samples to provide, but also it's going to help you during the interview, because most hiring managers want to hear why you're interested in working with them and their brand and why you connect with their brand. So be ready to talk about that. Next up is being an adaptable writer. And this is just something that I've heard from hiring managers. Now, this is typically going to show up either in your writing samples or in the assessment. So that's what I'm going to talk about next. Most writing jobs they're going to have or require you to do an assessment. Now, I don't love assessments, but for writing jobs and certain other jobs, it totally makes sense because they want to see how you work, right? And so you should be able to pitch an interesting story, find the right visuals for it, and do all of that work, right? You should be able to write something that doesn't have a lot of errors, spelling, punctuation, grammar errors in them. I've seen candidates get passed along after they've gotten so far, and the assessment is the thing that knocks them out of the batch of considerable candidates because they have too many errors in their writing. So please do make sure you double check and make sure there are no errors in the assessment that you're sharing. The other issue that some folks have with the assessment is not really asking the right questions before they get started. So make sure before you get started on an assessment, if you have questions after you get the assessment and you review it, ask the questions. Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask, because what you don't want to happen is that you don't understand what the hiring manager is really looking for, and you spend that time working on your assessment, you submit something that they really didn't want, right? Or you take longer amounts of time on the assessment that could have taken you less time if you just asked a few questions, right? So definitely take the time you need. You can even ask the question of how long does it typically take folks to complete the assessment. Normally, your team's going to know. It takes an hour, it takes 2 hours, whatever. But that should be a helpful guideline for you. And ask any other questions you have about, if it's supposed to be written in a certain tone or a different style or from a certain point of view. Ask those questions, because that is typically going to be something that will compare you to other people in the process. Multiple people may have an assessment, and the person that has the best assessment may be the person that either gets hired or moves along in the process. Okay, so I hope that all of these tips are useful. If you did find them useful, please do hit the like button. The likes are free, and leave me a comment if you agree, if you disagree, if you have your own personal scenario you want to talk about. And of course, be sure you're subscribed to the channel if you are interested in more content like this. And with that, I will see you lovely people next time. Have a great one. Bye.